The smallest seed, a meditation. The smallest seed planted into a heart ready to receive it will take you places you never imagined. This is where it began. An ordinary conversation with my sister led to a moment that changed my life. Over the last 3 years, God took a prayer I prayed, "Help me, Father, to see my sister as she is," into a beautiful, open, vulnerable relationship that I could have never imagined. It's the type of relationship where you see the things that others cannot see, the deep longings of the heart buried deep within the soil of the soul. God has given me a heart to call out the things I see buried deep within another. Speaking it out gives it movement, and it begins to rise out of its nestled cocoon. Sometimes we speak and we don't even realize the impact our word can have upon our life. A word from God at the right time has great power. Power to move us and help us to move from all the lies that hold us back. And there are so many lies from our childhood that have woven themselves in and around our hearts, cutting off the blood that would give us life. But God was beginning to move in, though I couldn't see it at the time. A small seed began to move within me, and words began to flow from my lips. Words that would change the trajectory of my life and how I saw myself, and how I would see myself months later. Looking back now, I can see it, though at the time I just couldn't. And that's how God works. He plants these little seeds. They are so small we barely see them. We don't even know that they're there. A shift began to change within my heart. My heart began to see as if magically overnight it grew a pair of eyes and began to see what was always there. I began to look at my sister and see a woman with an amazing vision on her life, a calling much larger than me. I began to speak this over her, and life began to move within us. Some time passed, and then one day my sister asked me if I would help her facilitate a women's retreat with her. Without a thought, I said yes. The seed began to grow, to move. God had gifted me with the ability to write, so my sister asked if I would write for the retreat. Again, I said yes. Some time had passed, and God gave me confirmation that this was the path He wanted my sister and I to walk together, a path towards our inner healing. Since that day, I prayed the prayer. God had come between me and my sister and had brought much healing. Long, hard conversations of what we've been through together had brought a healing I could not have even anticipated. After all, who could understand more than the one who had gone through it with you? Conversations that dig and dig at the hard, rocky soil of the heart. At this time, I was attending Community Christian and received a word from God. It came from the story of Mary and Elizabeth. Mary had just received a seed from God. She was with child, and no ordinary child, the Son of God, who would come to give our hearts back. Our cold, hard, stony hearts. The seed began to grow. Mary ran to share this with Elizabeth. Luke 1:39-45 says, Mary immediately got up and began to run to share this with Elizabeth. She hurried to the hill country in the province of Judah, where her cousins Zechariah and Elizabeth lived. Mary entered their home and greeted Elizabeth, who felt her baby leap within her womb. Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. Elizabeth shouting, "You are blessed, Mary, blessed among all women, and the child you bear is blessed. As soon as I heard your voice greet me, my baby leaped for joy within me. How fortunate you are, Mary, for you believed what the Lord told you would be fulfilled." The Spirit began to speak to me and show me that my sister was Mary. God had given my sister a calling, and I was Elizabeth, seeing the calling and speaking life over it. Filled with God's Spirit, I saw the things in my sister that she could not see. My spirit leaped when I saw all that God had called her to. God showed me that seed He had planted in my heart for my sister was like a baby growing within the womb. And as the months passed and I wrote, I would be stretched to see God's vision. for what he wanted to say. There were pains along the way when I had wrestled with laziness, pushing myself to write, wrestling to see the vision of the retreat and coming into agreement with God and my sister, wrestling with constructive criticism, the demon that causes me not to write, wrestling with my voice of this is not good enough. Then there were the acts of nature that prevented us from having the retreat in the mountains. We had to let go of how we wanted it to go and instead let it be what God wanted it to be. Finally, the time arrived, and my sister and I made the drive to San Diego and walked inside the house. And it couldn't have been more perfect. A moment shared between two hearts that had been beaten, torn, and lost together. We separated much like we did when our hearts were torn from years of abuse. Walking in the beauty, the serenity, a moment of perfection shared with the one who gave us a new heart and a new spirit. I walked into the kitchen, and along the wall was a narrow rectangle table. And on the table sat a cube, and on the cube was the words, deserving. I looked at it, the words came into me and through my eyes, and like a jar of warm honey, began to drip slowly down from my mind and wrap around my heart, loosening up all the lies that had tangled around it. I felt warmth, and I felt love. As I said in this moment, I thought about how God was in every little detail and how now he was healing me. To know in this moment I'm deserving, to feel it, to know it, to let it breathe life into me. The seed grew more. As the girls began to arrive, my insecurities began to grow. The greatest battle was about to begin. All the stories that I had told myself about myself started to grow. They were plain out lies that I believe planted from years of abuse. Words like, you don't belong, you're so quiet, no one listens to you. Come on, you know no one likes you and they never have. I wrestled and wrestled. When my sister first asked me to embark on this adventure with her, I didn't even think about my insecurities, not until this moment when I was face to face with them. The first evening as I shared my story and no one said a word, crickets are the worst to the one who needs validation. That evening, I went to bed feeling empty and depleted, and just hours earlier, I'd sat in front of those words, feeling accepted and loved just as I am. The next morning, I arose early, as I was in the habit of doing. As I stood in front of the mirror, I was bombarded by ugly words of insecurity. I found a quiet place, and I began to read. I sat at a table, and Jesus pulled up a seat and sat down across from me. He looked at me with warm eyes, as he always does, and he took my hand because he knew I let the enemy have a seat at my table, and he began to speak to me. He said, words have power. The word you speak over yourself has the power of life and death, and you, my dear, are speaking words of death over yourself. It was one of the most enlightening moments of my life, and the seed that was planted months and months ago began to grow and grow. Jesus reached inside of me and took out my heart, my cold, stony heart, and then he reached inside of himself and he took his warm, open, welcoming, kind heart and placed it gently inside of me. And that is where he is. These days, every morning when I begin my day, I take a stone heart that my friend gave me for my birthday and I place it at the foot of the cross. And I take a cross that I received years ago and wear it near my heart as a reminder that he has taken my cold, distant, stony heart and is giving me a new heart, a good heart. I take good care of this heart now. I care about this heart, and so does Jesus. I pray each morning that he would help me keep it open, warm, and welcoming. And I know that he will, no matter what comes. I'm just not willing to lose it again. Now I have a good heart worth fighting for. And I'm thankful for the seed that was planted through my sister. What is the seed that has been planted in your heart? Tend to it and see how it will grow. May his spirit and his your spirit leap at joy at all he is birthing in you and through you.